Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
The government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Democracy, conventionally defined and widely accepted by the 16th President of the United States of America, Abraham Lincoln, with the iconic Gettysburg Address on November 19, 1863, at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery in Gettysburg in Pennsylvania, here in Nigeria. On the anniversary of this iconic day, June 12, it's been 25 years of unbroken democracy, definitely not without its ills and gains, if any. We will look into prospects, potential, promises, challenges, and way forward here on your station of choice, where we say it as it is, Western Spring Television. On this program, Morning Spring, where we talk about everything that has to do with the betterment of this dear nation, Nigeria. Today, Democracy Day, Wednesday, June 12, 2024. I am Femi Ojo, and of course, with me is the delectable Evelyn Ohiolei. Happy Democracy Day.
Happy Democracy Day to you, Femi. I mean, it's a good time to be alive as a Nigerian. 25 years of unbroken democracy, and we are indeed grateful to God for life. Like you read out, you said earlier on that it is not without its ills and gains, but then we should be grateful that we are still here standing. I am Evelyn Ohiolei, welcoming you especially to the Democracy Day edition of Morning Spring right here on Western Spring Television.
Right, and it's just like she has just said, it's Democracy Day special of Morning Spring. Of course, Morning Spring, as I said, is about conversations about the betterment of this great nation called Nigeria. June 12, 1993, right, to June 12, 2024, 25 years of unbroken democracy. You know, as many as can remember, especially the younger generation, what happened pre-June 12, 1993, the struggle and everything, you know, it's been a long time coming. So we are going to be having critical stakeholders speak with us on this subject matter today. By the way, June 12, was more like a commemoration of that annulment, you know, the election that was held, widely believed to be free and fair before he struggles, before the powers that be, you know, many things happened. And then we heard for the first time that what was used in our election, annulment of the election of, you know, the supposed winner of the election, Moshood Ashimawo Olawale Abiola, popularly known as MKO, a billionaire, you know, a mega super rich billionaire. It was the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yoruba land, pillar of sport in Africa. That was who he was, and he, you know, he came, you know, he threw in the hat to be part of the race. His main challenger at that time was Bashir Tofa, you know, of the NRC. He ran under the platform of the SDP, Social Democratic Party, you know, with a horse being the logo and eagle or thereabout being the logo of the NRC. Quite a very, you know, keen race, but then his lead, we believed, we learned, was unassailable at some point before that annulment happened under, you know, the leadership of, that was President Badamasi Babangida, who was there, and the pressure was on. So many things to talk about. So that day, June 12, represent a very important and iconic, you know, time in our history. And just a few years ago, instead of May 29th of Democracy Day being the day that handover is done in Nigeria, the government, I think under Muhammadu Buhari, said the true Democracy Day should be in June 12, and here we are.
And of course, that announcement was made June 6, 2018 by the then President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, while it said that we have to honor the sacrifices of one of our heroes of democracy in the person of late Chief Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola. And of course, it received posthumous Grand Commander of the Federal Republic. You know, if he were to be president at the time, he would have actually received that honor. But of course, his son received it on his behalf. And since then, we have had the Democracy Day celebrated June 12th. It's a day to reflect on our democratic journey. And this morning on Morning Spring, we'll be having major conversation on this. What has been our achievements so far? Are we really working as a democratic state? These and many more we'll talk about on Morning Spring. We'll go for this break. The papers are in. We definitely are going to be looking at what the papers are saying today, 12th of June, 2024. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
All right, let me start these set of headlines from the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard is where I'm taking it off this morning. And we have June 12, current challenges being used to impair democracy. That is coming from the President Bola Tinubu. Current challenges being used to impair democracy. By the way, he made, you know, as it stands right now, the expected, you know, broadcast, presidential broadcast is on, or maybe it's true with that. We get to see, you know, the highlights of that broadcast. But then still talking about these headlines from Vanguard, a lot of, you know, writers here says it is time to build a nation where every voice is heard, citizens empowered. Democracy here to deliver prosperity, liberty to Nigerians. That's coming from article. At unity among opposition parties, key to democracy survival. PDP accuses APC of desecrating Abiola's legacy. On a day like this, you know, you're still throwing shades, blames here and there. But then, as they say, it is what it is, says Nigerians angry over hardship. Nigerians here to enjoy basic amenities. ASU tells Tinubu, Nigerians still bleeding over bad governance. CSO, as federal government declares June 12 public holiday. Governor Abiodun orders renovation of Abiola's house. DSS draws red line on protest. Okay, we learned some individuals, you know, preparing to protest today, and the DSS came out yesterday to say, yeah, you might have the right to do that, but then they have to do what they have to do as well, telling them maybe to stand down so that the nation will maintain its peace. But then we wait to see what happens. And then just above that, you have some gentlemen leaders at different times in the past. Guest lecturer at, you know, at a particular event. Former Governor Katsina State Aminu Masari was former Speaker as well of the House of Reps. APC National Chairman Chief B.C. Akonde, former APC National Chairman rather, Vice President Kashim Shettima, the SGF to the Federation, the SGF rather, George Akume, Babagana Kinjibe, and Head of Service for Lashade Yemieson during a public lecture to commemorate 25th Democracy Day celebration in Abuja yesterday. By the way, Babagana Kinjibe was running mate to the late MKO, so he's one person who, you know, have that particular struggle on his palm, so to speak. Moving on, police, military's attitude to banditry frustrating. Zamfara governor. That's one state among many others that is currently being infested by the activities of these criminals called bandits, terrorists, by the way. See, Zamfara, Niger, and Katsina, they are hotbeds of criminalities right now. And it seems these criminals are having a field day, which is sad. Maybe that's what this Zamfara state governor is saying. Police and military's attitude to banditry is frustrating. Rivers Court didn't declare 25 lawmakers PDP members. Court document is a lot of what is happening. In Rivers State, Dangote refinery postpones commencement of petrol supply to July. And senators without bills not only yardstick for assessing lawmakers, LP and others. Really, Evelyn, maybe some senators have been accused of no single bill, and maybe a couple of them, or the Labour Party saying bill is not yardstick for assessing lawmakers. So what's your contribution, actually?
Well, I'd like to share in their sentiments that truly bill sponsoring of bills is not really a yardstick to measuring whether a lawmaker is doing well. Yeah. It is their contributions, even when other bills are being read out. So, you know, we've had a lot of this kind of pressure come on lawmakers, and they tend to bring up unnecessary bills, and sometimes these bills
just to appear to be working.
These bills become law, you know. So I don't think we should actually use the sponsoring of bills to measure whether or not a legislator is keeping up to their task. So how do we measure
the measurement if you are talking about their contribution to other bills or oversight function? If somebody has been seen to be missing in action, or it's all about I and yes, the yes have it?
I will not actually disagree that we've had lawmakers over the years that actually just go there to mark attendance. In fact, some of them are not even found during plenary. They just, once they get into that particular office, they go MIA, missing in action. But then they represent their people. So I feel it is the people that will determine whether or not our lawmakers representing us well in the National Assembly. I
want to agree, but sometimes it seems the people that the people that these parliamentarians represent, sometimes the moment they go, whatever they do there doesn't really bother anybody. Once he or she is coming back with lages, with slots, with empowerment, so to speak, and okay.
That's why the people have to have a laser focus on their representatives. If you feel they're not doing the job, call them out. We don't have to generalize and say lawmakers that are not sponsoring bills are not working. If you know your own lawmaker, focus on your lawmaker. You have no business with other people's lawmakers.
I think many persons are worried because, not really worried, concerned that you will see, maybe in the last 10 years, there was a time, maybe not now, maybe in the last 8th Assembly or 7th Assembly, that you'll see, even till now, that there are lawmakers that hardly in a week won't you see them say something or deliberate on something. There are faces you could point and say, if not this man, if not this man. And there are faces that you have never seen on your screen at all.
Well, it's just like a classroom. In a classroom, you'd agree with me that there are people that the teachers, you know, pay attention to because they have something to contribute. They ask questions, they contribute and all of that. And there are people that are just there, they don't see anything. It doesn't mean that they are dumb or they are not brilliant.
I like that. You should consult for any of those guys. All right, moving on, Afe Babalola. Nigeria was on the verge of experimenting the 1963 constitution when events that were destined to alter the political destiny of Nigeria for life began to unfold. Okay, that's a quote. Attributed to the Siyan Oyeweso luminary, maybe retired now. 2026 World Cup qualifiers, Soji, Savages, Finidi, players, and NFF. This is one guy that nobody envies his job right now. Finito himself, he was a fantastic player, both for the Super Eagles and in Europe as well, a Champions League winner. But then it seems this job of being the manager of the Super Eagles, it hasn't come down well with him. By the way, cholera, outbreak, 5 die, 60 hospitalized in Lagos. That's sad. While foreign investment are driving economic development in Nigeria, Mohalo and Jonathan Tinubu build democracy that will reduce frictions. Right? And while Nigerian startups are struggling, finally on humor part, Mr. and Mrs. Yes, I called her husband. I called her husband snatcher. If I ever catch both of you together, I will deal with her. And Mr. responds with some exclamation face. Then it is your fault if she succeeded in snatching me. Oh, wow. So Mr. is the prize. Yeah. All right. That's all from the front page of the Vanguard.
All right, let's go on to the Guardian newspaper this morning. Let's see what headlines are making the rounds on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Hope betrayed at 31. Citizens in dire straits still in search of democratic ideals, dividends. And of course, you can see the animation or cartoon description of Mr. President there, waving the flag June 12 at 31 with a sign there saying renewed hope and democracy at 25. And of course, you can see some other signs talking about how Nigerians at this time do not really have hope, even though it is a renewed hope administration. Away from that, I understand our economic difficulties. You do not. Atiku, others tell Tinubu. And Labour rules out timeline for new minimum wage, expects 6 figures. Council autonomy, Anniversary says Tinubu playing to the gallery, suit diversionary, hypocritical. And of course, we have the picture of Ayodeji Ologun there. Truth under fire, the multi-front assault on facts during 2023 general election. You can find that on News Analysis page 4. Nigeria's debt servicing gulps $2.2 billion in 5 years. This is debt servicing. It's not repayment of our loans. It's just us servicing our debts, and we have 2.2 billion naira being gulped in just 5 months. That's huge money, if you ask me. Federal government needs 15 trillion naira to execute 260 road projects, says Umahi. That's the Minister of Works in this present administration. 15 trillion naira needed to execute 260 road projects. Kaduna pardons 110 convicts to mark Democracy Day. Of course, we are definitely, probably, not, let me not say definitely, probably maybe seeing some more pardons from other states just in the spirit of Democracy Day. To mark June 12, or to make June 12 a meaningful Democracy Day, that is an editorial piece on the Guardian newspaper this morning, and that will be all from the front page of the Guardian.
From that, we move to the Punch. The Punch newspaper is next. Democracy Day. Tinubu hails Abiola orders once against anti-democratic forces. That is from the Punch. With a rider, President vows to preserve democracy, appeases Nigerians over economic hardship. Okay, Evelyn, you have been appeased. No verse. That's what it means. Okay. And the picture there is a very sad one. Tinubu, AU, mourn Malawi Vice President. Others killed in plane crash. Yesterday it was read that the plane was missing, went off radar since Sunday or thereabout. And now the inevitable, sad one, sad reality is there. The plane has crashed. The Vice President and people on board have died. You can see the wreckage of the plane, and of course, maybe some commiseration to the immediate family or thereabout right there in Malawi.
It's a sad one indeed.
Sad one that happened as well. UK varsity, offers expelled Nigerian student flight support. UK varsity offers expelled Nigerian student flight support. All right, Lagos urges caution as cholera kills 560 hospitalized. With all due respect, these are the kind of things you would think you will not hear in Lagos because of what Lagos is and what that state represents. But then seeing that 5 persons have been killed due to cholera and 60 hospitalized, it speaks volume. And then you see the picture of the Commissioner for Health there, Mr. Bayomi, telling the people to please take caution. It has to do with hygiene majorly, diseases like this. Data breach, federal government fines 4 banks, others 400 million naira for data breach. My question is, who gets the money? The government or customers that their data have been breached? Who gets that particular money? Okay. Top strip, South Supreme Court begins sitting as state counter federal government on LG funds. Let's see the picture of the NGF chairman, Abdurrahman Abdurazak, the governor. For our state, Dangote refinery commences PMA supply July. That's one expectation that the people are having. As it stands, Dangote refinery have been producing jet one fuel, diesel, and some other, commodities, crude commodities as well. But for the PMS, which many agents are thinking will be a game changer, the date has been set back again too. So July. And Lagos Calabar Highway, federal government reroutes mega project slashes lanes to 6. I can see the picture of the man in charge there, Dave Umar. Lagos Calabar Highway, federal government reroutes mega project slashes lanes to 6. All bid round, federal government cost signature bonus from $200 million to $10 million. That's you can see the picture of Aniki Lokobiri there, one of the Minister of State for Petroleum. And, going back to these Lagos Calabar Highway, Evelyn, federal government reroutes mega project slashes lanes to 6. Reroutes, there has been a lot of talking points about this Lagos Calabar Highway, especially the detail, the functionality, the timing, the kind of fund is in trillions of naira. It's an 8-year project. And many persons are saying, why this push from Umai for this project?
Well, it seems...
Especially with this back and forth. It seems it's like try and error now, rerouting.
Yeah, but it seems that it's not going to just be the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Minister Umai is actually doing everything he can to show the people that he's working. Recently, I read from the Guardian newspaper that is saying there is need for 15 trillion naira to work on about 260 or 206, I can get the figure now, road projects in the country. So about the coastal highway, politics are set in as it would in this part of the world. And some people are behind, okay, this is needed at this time. And some people are of the opinion that it is unnecessary and this should not be a priority at this time. We should first work on the roads that we have already, existing projects. But then it has already commenced, it was suspended at the time, rerouted and all of that. But it's simply... Some businesses have been affected. Yes.
The environmental assessment document, that has generated ripples in which a particular journalist asked the same minister.
Yes.
He tried to deflect. The journalist insisted he had to say everything that needed to be done has been done, only for us to realize it wasn't the case.
This speaks to the anyhowness we have in our country and the fact that impunity thrives. I feel for things like this, the Minister of Works should be called to order and probably sanctioned for what he's doing. And on the lighter note, going to Lagos, I met a friend of mine and it was like, I promised my wife that I was going to take her to one of the beaches that was affected in Lagos. And she could not even, experience what it feels like to be on that beach. I said there are other beaches you can actually do well with that. That's just on the lighter note. And I'm sure a lot of people also share that sentiment that, oh, this beach, I said, whenever I have the money, I'm just going to go and flex.
The husband is not like praise for his mind. Like,
no, because it was the husband that was telling me that I promised your friend I was going to take her there. If you look at it now, they can't experience it.
Let them explore other beaches.
Exactly.
Yeah, that will be all from the Punch.
All right, we move ahead to Nigerian Tribune at this time. Still on the June 12th anniversary that doubles as Democracy Day for us in Nigeria, Tinubu warns of internal threats to undermine democracy. You can find that on page 3, 4, and 12 of the Nigerian Tribune, with the writers here on the front page. Hails Tribune others for their sacrifices, and not reforms necessary to fix economy, says executive bill coming soon on agreement with Labour. Winner takes all politics inimical to unity, Justice Jonathan says, and wants Tinubu to dilute politics of region. That's still coming from former President Goodluck Jonathan. Opposition's lack of capacity to unite threats to democracy, says Atiku. And June 12, solemn reminder, reflection on democracy in Nigeria. The Middle Belt Forum is speaking. Court nullifies amendments to Rivers Assembly Commission law. And Abiodun Amosun trade wars over unpaid severance allowance to political appointees. You can get more details of these on page 15 of Nigerian Tribune this morning. Oyetola commissions landmark projects at Niwa. And Malawi's vice president's plane wreckage found no survivors. We brought to you the news yesterday that the plane went missing, but as of today, it has been confirmed that there was a plane crash and there were no survivors. That's Malawi's vice president, as of this time, in the person of Salo Chilima, is dead. And you know, just a month away or less than a month away, we had that the Iran's president Ibrahim Raisy's plane crash that also claimed in his life, and also that of other politicians. We hope we do not have to get to hear incidents like this.
And I think this speaks to the frailty of life.
Yeah.
It can be anybody.
It doesn't matter who you are.
No matter how high
yes,
it can be anybody, and it could happen at any time. So just make every moment count.
Just make every moment count. Still on Nigerian Tribune this morning, over 300 companies shut down, 380 jobs lost within 2 months. MAN says, as the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, for the rider reps, CSOs, others lament impact of recent electricity tariff hike. And we have the picture there of your state governor, Sheyi Makinde, and his deputy, as well as the former Minister of Information, Professor Jerry Gana, and Director General and Special Advisor to the Governor on Socio-Economic Development, Dr. Thomas, during the official opening of Operational Office of Oyo State Mobilization Agency for Socio-Economic Development in Ibadan. You can see the governor there at the opening ceremony. Top corner, Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. Civilian workers in Defense Ministry embark on indefinite strike over killing, brutalization of colleagues by military men. And COAS orders immediate investigation. And I think that investigation is necessary at this time, with the accusation of killing and brutalization of their colleagues by military men. And Afenifere differs with FG Tinubu on LG autonomy. And lastly, from the front page of Nigerian Tribune, 5 die, 60 hospitalized in suspected Lagos cholera outbreak. And like Femi said earlier, this is rather an unfortunate situation. 5 human lives have been lost and 60 also battling for their lives in the hospital. Femi.
Sad situation. By the way, Lagos is speaking. People should take charge, because hygiene is never is a topic that will never be taken. That should never be taken with kid gloves, especially when it has to do with diseases like cholera. It has to do with hygiene, and you know, we hope the people in charge will rise to the occasion and save more lives. And that because we can't afford to be losing people, not at any time, not at this time, especially on preventable diseases. Issues and diseases like this. Cholera is preventable. So whoever has dropped the ball should please take responsibility as well. And we as individuals as well should please take care of ourselves. Let me take you from the Daily Trust. The Daily Trust has these: Tinubu may reshuffle cabinet, create new ministry. Tinubu may reshuffle cabinet, create a new ministry. If reshuffling is to be done, or there will be a shake-up, there are 1 or 2 ministers that Nigerians, if they are given the chance to point at, they will easily just point to them and say, these individuals, please let them go, or put them where they are really necessary. And with riders, some ministers to go. Okay, I will send bill on minimum wage to National Assembly soon, President. Okay, And Jonathan, National Assembly should consider best model of government for Nigeria. And I think, I saw that video yesterday at the meeting, right? And former President Jonathan is more like, like a bride right now. It's everywhere. Whenever he speaks, people wants to listen. You can just imagine what had happened in the years past, the kind of names he was called by these people in government right now. But then it is what it is. Politicians will say it's nothing personal. We must just do what we have to do. But then he spoke many things at our meeting yesterday at our event. Truth under fire, the multi-front assault on facts during the 2023 Nigerian election. And finally, Minister seeks probe of PAMSEC over alleged sexual harassment. Minister seeks probe of PAMSEC over alleged sexual harassment. With a rider, she wants to destroy man of integrity. Okay. This is a we versus them kind of situation, but everything should be investigated as well on this matter. And we'll take a pause right now. There is a lot to unpack, a lot to unravel, especially on a day like this, June 12, 1993 to June 12, 2024. It's quite a lot. Many things went down. We try to unpack as many as we can, speak about the challenges, the prospect, the promise, and then where we are supposed to be here on Money Spring, on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back. From the hills of Mambila to the ice-cold weather and the plateau, the fine sand dune in Maiduguri to the center of unity at the FCT, across the confluence town of Lokoja where the two great and iconic rivers meet, the great and creative people of Aba, Ndeonu, a great you to the core city of Enugu where the Oriental Derby between Rangers and Enyimba happened a few days ago, to the riverine and oil-rich Niger Delta, from Sagbama to Brass, from Warri to Uyo, Eleme to Calabar, to the great kingdom of Benin, further down to the Sunshine State, the beautiful hills in Idori, the warm spring of Ikogosi to the living spring in Oshun, to Ilesha, the ancient gold city and the capital of the industrious Igesha people, the world-famous Gari Ijebo, and Oluma Rock in Abeokuta, to the brave and always witty Ibadan ancestry, up to the center of excellence, Lagos, the commercial nerve center, the geographical expression of good people and great nation called Nigeria. All over, today is marked and commemorated as Democracy Day. The government of the people, by the people and for the people, democracy conventionally defined and widely accepted by the 16th President of the United States of America, Abraham Lincoln, with the iconic Gettysburg Address on November 19, 1863, at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery in Gettysburg in Pennsylvania. And here in Nigeria, on the anniversary of this iconic day, June 12, it's been 25 years of unbroken democracy, definitely not without its hills and gains, if any. We will look into prospect, potential challenges, and way forward here on your station of choice, where we say it as it is, Western Spring Television. And with that, we want to welcome our guest for this morning. Our first guest, okay, I think you should still wear the comrade toga. Ayodeji Ologun joins us live, physically here. We are happy to see you. Happy Democracy Day.
I wish Nigerians happy Democracy Day, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. 25 years. Okay, let's start from this end. We have the unbroken democracy that we are enjoying right now, 25 years, from 1999 to 2024. And of course, the 1993 situation, June 12, the annulment of that election, conventionally believed, widely accepted to be free and fair, and won by MKO Abiola. Many persons saw him as the president we never had, and we will never have, even if there have been, honor bestowed upon him posthumously by him and his family. But 1993 election, you and Elder as it stands right now, maybe mid, so to speak. How was the struggle like, in your words, if you had to describe what happened at that moment?
Well, I was just reflecting in the vehicle while I was coming to the studio. The 1993 protest happened to be what perhaps gingered what today is called activism in me. That was the first protest I was ever going to join. My first line up on the street was the 1993 protest. I remember Torita Modern, not what it is now. That's the center, the epicenter of information in Osogbo, here in Osogbo. If you want to read newspaper is not what you read on your phones. Of course, there were no phones then, or what you can have access to as an ordinary person. If you work in big services, you don't get to see newspaper. So that was the reader's joint, where everybody, those who matters, those who would rather have been discussant on television and radio like this, will gather to read what the content of the paper is, and of course thrown into debates and what have you. Of course, that tradition is lost. That was the first time I joined what is called a protest, and since that time that spirit of activism never left. So for me, in 1993, I recall that the likes of Alhaji Waheed Lawal, the likes of Amitolu Shitu, the likes of Bayo Ojo, and the rest of them were the face of activism in Osun State. I'm referring to Osun State because, of course, this is where it started for me, because those are the ones that had direct access to the supreme leader, so-called then, that is Chief Gani Fawehinmi. They were his proteges. The former head of service in Osun State, Olowo Boyega, who is now a federal commissioner with the Service Commission. Those are the ones that were students at the feet of Gani Fawehinmi as at then. So whatever meeting and training must have held in Lagos, whatever decisions must have been taken in Lagos, they are the ones that will come back to Osun, to Oyo, to other parts of Ondo State to, of course, give the word of the leader to us. And I remember we mentioned it on one of the programs here, that then activism was not about profit. It was about conviction. And it was a life-threatening thing because, of course, we were walking against the wind that time. I remember when we had to, if we ever make it to Lagos, and after general meetings of the CDHR, of the Joint Action Front, and the rest that we attended, they will give us leaflets in packs. And don't forget that the content of that leaflet is what the DSS, SSS as they were called then, not DSS, they were called SSS then, but DSS now, as they were called then, and the intelligence police, that's what they're on the streets to find. So how you move those leaflets from Agege or from Yanakwaja, where meeting of CDHR or JAF must have heard, to wherever state you are going is on your own. Because if you're ever caught, you dare not say, oh, Gani Fawehinmi gave me this, or if Abifala gave me this. So most of those times we concede those leaflets in packs, in our trousers, in your traveling bag. And because you don't want to be caught by policemen or the SSS, you dare not go to the garage to board buses. Because, of course, there could be a stop and search. So what you rather do is look for vehicles that are conveying cow, or conveying bag of rice, or conveying feeds to Osun, and you join those vehicles because, of course, it is assumed that is not transporting human beings, it's transporting animals. So you just stay in one corner.
And it was under the military.
It was under the military. So you just stay in one corner with the rams bleating on you all night, praying that by the dawn of the morning you are in Osogbo. And of course, before it is done, you have to go ahead, distribute those leaflets to campuses, particularly OAU and a few other institutions that were around then. And if they want to be pasted, you arrive from Lagos to Osogbo around 2, 3 a.m. And you must make sure that you paste those posters between the hours of 2 and 5, because anything later than that time, the streets are already filled, you can get caught. So those were the experiences. But then when you now talk about democracy and those who had no part, with due respect, those who had made no significant contribution, unfortunately, are the biggest beneficiaries of all of that now. And like I said off air, I blame the leaders of the society. Perhaps we will have had a more egalitarian society if those who understood the concept of nationality, if those who understand the concept of humanity, if those who had empathy for nationhood had allowed themselves to be used, perhaps it would have been a different.
Yeah, we'll get there. But I just want to, you have painted activism part of that struggle, how you have to mobilize, conceal whatever you're having, for mobilization, anyhow you want to. So because it was under the military, your one's head could be gone by the money, even by the night, if one is caught, because there were the powers that be at that point. But let's look at the election, really. The SDP versus the NLC, Bashir Tofa on one side, MKO on another side. The running mate was Babagana Kinjili. He's still alive right now. And how keenly fought that election was. And, after the election has started, few moments, we learned MKO was having an unassailable lead already. And the only thing that was remaining was that pronouncement that never came. The only thing we had was an annulment. What was the atmosphere like?
Let me quickly...
Especially the preparation, because I could still remember on the match again, starting from Mr. President, MKO.
Let me, it's historic and it's refreshing that some of these thoughts are coming back. Look, one of the enduring legacies of what political parties should be is what SDP and NRC give us. Unfortunately, political parties now are more vehicles to grab power. They are not entrenched. Look, in those days, in 1991, 92, 93, when the build-up to the 1993 election was happening, that was when SDP, I think they had a particular structure. They made sure that that structure, a building, a concrete building, they made that building in all the local governments of the federations. In some of the local governments, we have two. Those buildings are still standing. Where the Open University is in Osogbo, majority of those buildings they are using at Ayekwe were SDP buildings. Go to many local government, what they are calling local government headquarters today, those buildings were that of the SDP. That
and
is
the
now
logo, that horse
was always molded standing in front. There's a model. All the buildings across the country has a particular model. That is to tell you that democracy was what it should be. I'm just remembering now that, look, how many political parties in Nigeria today can you point to their party secretariats? If they have any at all, it will just be 1 3-bedroom flats in one area of the town rented. They do their things, share money there, and they go on. But then, for you to belong to a political party, you must be a financial contributor. You don't go to your ward meeting to go and collect rice and bread and beans in things like they do now. Of course, if you're going to campaign meeting, party meetings now, you are sure of a meal. Right. Because one leader or the other will come. But in those days, you are going to contribute your quota because no political party was dependent on anybody in government or taking money from government. Now back to the question that you asked. I recall beautifully that before that campaign, before the election, the campaign was run with purpose. It was run with clarity of intention. You know what the SDP stood for. You know what their policies are. You know what their direction was. You know what the NRC stood for. But these days, you only can differentiate between Party A and Party B. And during that election, campaign were brought to the doorstep of people. That is, the 1993 election was what brought about the canvassers that political parties now mount. The SDP then had what we call political canvassers who will bring the message of MKO Abiola to your door. Look, we are still singing MKO is our man now because it has kind of stuck to our brains since then. Between 1993 and now, can you recall how many campaign songs political parties has had? But because it does not resonate with the people, we don't even remember what those songs are. So the build-up to the election in 1993 was so beautiful because people were committed to the fact that, look, we are having a break from military rule. That commitment was there. Everybody was looking up to that day. You don't need to be bribed. You don't need to be enticed. There was that agitation. Everybody was waiting for the day of election to have a change in government. And because there was a man that people could relate with, that they could find some measure of hope in, and in that case, it was MKO Abiola. It was not a tribal thing. MKO Abiola was as popular in the south, as much popular as it was in the north. So it was a Nigerian thing. It was a candidate acceptable to the people for 3 reasons. Number one, people saw in an MKO Abiola someone who is not coming to office to steal. Because they saw in him a wealthy man. They saw in him a true Nigerian who does not need to get to office before he enrich himself. Number two, they saw in Abiola a man that can be related with. Because I recall that even then, when you go to Abiola's house, it's just like a family compound. You can't get there from any walk of life and get there and not eat. You can't get. I think the only person that took after Abiola was this man from Ilorin, the father of the former Saraki, the elder Saraki. You get to his compound, but before Baba will go to bed at night. If you are in hundreds or thousands in the compound, they will still come out, relate with every one of you, wave at you. So that was that connection that people had with an Abiola. So on the day of election, it was more of an affirmation. People were coming out to affirm what they believe in and what they have shown over time to be their conviction and choice of a leader. So nobody needed to mobilize people or shout on them or ring bell to say, come and vote. People trooped out en masse to vote because they needed to affirm what has been their choice and believe over time. So before you could say yes or no, by the midday, Nigerians already knew that we had a president in waiting. Because if in your unit, for example, there are 500 voters, and already one has 400, one is having 8, maybe 20 votes are invalid or so. And the reports coming from the north, coming from every part of the north, from the middle belt, from the east, from the south, are all confirming the same. So Nigerians were just patiently waiting for announcement of a president that has been affirmed by their vote, only to wake up the following morning, June 13th. And then it was a Sunday. And then came the announcement of the annulment of the election. And of course, nobody needed to mobilize anyone. Immediately the annulment of the June 12 election was announced. People from all walks of life and tribes hit the streets. They needed not to be mobilized. They needed not to be instigated because it was a cause they believe in, a hope dashed, a dream aborted. So people simply hit the streets to say, no, you cannot take away this from us. So when years after, a Babangida came out to address Nigerians to say, look, I'm sorry, it was not me. It was the likes of so. And so he mentioned David Mark, he mentioned a number of other people in the north. He even said it in one of the interviews that they told him that they would rather kill him and kill the president-elect if Abiola is announced as the president. And of course, what greater fear can a man have than the fear of death? And that was why he annulled the June 12th. Isn't it funny? Isn't it retrogressive? Isn't it insulting that the likes of David Mark, who made the announcement of the adjudged free election of June 12, 1993 possible, are the same people that were in the first line of benefits of the same democracy that they truncated. It was in the same 1999 that a David Mark got elected into the Senate and went on to become a Senate president. The same man that made it impossible for Nigerians to have had a president in 1993.
All right, Comrade Ologun, that was actually very elaborate. Let's connect the dot. 12th of June 1993 to now 12th of June 2024. At the time, you talked about the campaign song that we had during the MKO Abiola campaign. I remember seeing the video, and you had no food, no job, no water, no power, and all of that. And this is like what we still have 31 years after that particular election that got annulled. People in Nigeria saw MKO Abiola as the president we never had. Now, looking at it, democratically speaking, we have 25 years of unbroken democracy. How democratic do you think our democracy is in Nigeria, owing to the fact that democracy is said to be the government by the people, of the people, and for the people? Are we running a people-centered government in Nigeria at this time? Absolutely, we are not. And while I was coming here, I took my time to listen to the democracy speech of the president. And there's a quote that he made that almost brought tears to my eyes, because it's like saying what you don't do. It's like saying what is not real with you. He was making reference to the former president of the United States, Roosevelt, when he said that there are many ways by which a people can move forward, but there's only way a people can remain constant, and that we have a choice to either move forward or remain constant. So if we had many ways, as said by Roosevelt, to move forward, the question is, deliberately, we made a choice to stand still
Because if you compare now, don't forget that the one we are celebrating, 35 years of unbroken democracy, which started in 1999, was the fourth republic. That was the fourth time we're having a rebirth of democracy. It is the fourth republic and perhaps the longest we have had in the history of Nigeria. So the question would be, let's forget the three republics before now. We can call them trial and error time. Between 99 and now, how much of progress have we made? You were making reference to the political jingle of MK Abiola when, of course, you show people in the house and the light went off and other lights. Till today, 1993 till now, are we still not experiencing power failure? So a child born in 1993, by now, would be around 30 years plus.
31.
31. So what experience of that man or lady has changed in 31 years? The same way light was going off then, light is still going off now.
All right.
The same way people are dying by the cause of bad roads, people are still dying by bad roads. The same way, let me tell you, an average 31-year-old man or woman, except by privilege, do not know what an aeroplane looks like because it is still kind of an exclusive reserve of the rich.
Luxury.
It's still more of luxury when it should not.
Comrade Ologun, permit me to pause your thoughts at this time. We'll go for this breather. When we come back, we are going to be looking deeper into what we have today, this Democracy Day special edition of Morning Spring, and we'll be joined by another elder statesman. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Thank you for staying with us, and it is the Democracy Day special of Morning Spring. We're looking about what has happened from 12th of June 1993 to today, 12th of June 2024. Even before the 12th of June, the democracy, the annulment of that ill-fated election in 1993, they are arrowhead of that struggle, the late Moshood Kashimawo, Lawali Abiola, popularly known as MKO, and of course democracy in Nigeria, which today we are commemorating democracy. In 2018, June 12 was adopted rather to be the day to commemorate and to celebrate and to have conversations about democracy. And of course we have Comrade Ayodeji Ologun with us. He has been here earlier. We are being joined right now by Professor Siyan Oyeweso. He is a professor of history. He's a fellow of the Historical Society of Nigeria and a Nigerian Academy of Letters member, and of course, having many caps. But then, for the want of time, we'll have to stick with that. Prof, you're welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Happy Democracy Day to you.
Happy Democracy to all of us.
All right. Good to know. Now, yeah, we've had Comrade, but let's just start with you now, or resume with you. 1993, Comrade just tried to paint a picture of what happened, the election, the annulment, and but then you are here as an elder statesman right now, and of course, a person of letters, a professor of history. In a few minutes before we go to the democracy proper, how will you describe what happened pre-June 12, 2020? I mean, pre-June 12, 1993, after June 12, 1993, and to where we are right now, especially the election?
June 12, 1993 was a watershed in Nigeria's democratic struggle. It was the first time since 1914, when Nigerian state was created, that people of all ethnic nationalities, religions, ethnicities, and all other primordial considerations decided to reject that division and freely voted for candidates of their choice. And the man who was freely elected at that presidential election was Moshood Kashimawo Abiola, the Bashorun, and the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Iran, CAPS combined together. Abiola chose, when that election was annulled, Abiola chose to stay on the side of the people in defense of the mandate freely given by the people. That election was adjudged to be the freest and the most transparent election in Nigeria democratic struggle. Muslim candidate, president from Ogun State, vice president from Borno, the presidential candidate of National Republican Convention, NRC, Bashir Tofa, also a Muslim from Kano. After the election, after the electioneering process, and the winner was known, the loser congratulated the winner. There was no issue of party A, candidate A, or other candidate going to court to challenge that victory. In spite of that huge electoral success, the military dictator of the period, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, annulled that election. And that was the first time annulment entered Nigeria political lexicon. First time. So the will of people, and anybody who lived around 1993, 1994, 1995 will understand that the people chose to resist the military. Abiola was given the option, was jailed for years. He was given the option to negotiate his freedom. And he told them, only free men can negotiate. Like Nelson Mandela, he was right in prison. He liberated till his last breath. He did not negotiate that mandate really given. And when you look at the mantra, farewell to poverty, the campaign director was Dr. Jonathan Zwingina. The vice president elect was Babagana Kingibe. When you look at 1983, before the end of 1983, it only took a man of courage to stay alive and to insist on that mandate. M.K. Abiola remains a martyr, the man who gave his yesterday so that we can have freedom, democracy. So what has happened so far is that in the last 25 years, the legacy of Abiola is the continuous 25 years of unbroken civil democratic rule. Since that time, Nigerians have continued to say no to any military usurper. And the military establishment too have tried as much as possible to stay in the barracks and within their mandate.
All right, thank you, Professor, for that. I was just speaking to Comrade Ologun earlier on connecting the dots, between 1993 and 2024, what we have then and what we have now. And with the ticket that brought President Bola Tinubu on as President of Nigeria, there seemed to be a similitude with what we had then and now. The Muslim ticket with MKO Abiola and Babangana Kingibe, and now Tinubu and Shatima. And of course, the Hope 1993, and now we have the renewed Hope 2023. We had the renewed Hope 23. That was his campaign mantra back then. Would you say that, in a way, we are continuing the legacy of MKO Abiola with a Tinubu presidency?
Tinubu was a major actor in the politics of, in June 12 politics and after. He was one of the major key players at that time that at a particular time, he almost lost his life. And he took Nadeko route out of the country. So many other people laid their lives for whatever nature of democratic rule that we are enjoying today. Yes, there are similarities in terms of the ethnicity. The Baba Gana Kingibe from Borno, Shetima, Kazim Shetima, also from Borno, Muslim ticket of Shetima and Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yes, that's similarity. The campaign mantra, also very similar. The Nigeria of 1993 and Nigeria of 2023, that very, very, very different.
What has
entirely.
changed?
What has changed is that our men of power, our men in religion, our big men, the ethnic jingoists, were very active in 2023 and in other areas too. First and foremost, some people rejected before the election that on no ground would they allow a Muslim ticket to run. It never existed then. The Muslim ticket, some Christians organized campaigns. With due respect, just one name, somebody in Bochi opted out of the party because of the Muslim ticket. A very close associate of Bola Ahmed Tinubu chose another camp because of the Muslim ticket. Religious balancing was a key feature, and campaign were even organized not just on religious platform, on even ethnic platforms in this election. So while ethnicity was downplayed, religion was downplayed in 1983. All these divisive factors played very prominent role in 2023. Take a look at the votes given to Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the Southeast. There was a particular election in Abia, election which was conducted the same day. The president scored very low vote, while the senatorial candidate has highest vote. They look at that candidate as their own, and the other candidate not our candidate, and they chose
of the same party.
Yes, of the same party. It happened in Abia. It happened in Abia.
Okay.
So ethnicity, religion, and other. In 1993, money did not play prominent role at that particular point in time. When you look at the election or presidential election, for you to buy form, it ran to millions for governor, for senators, and for the president. The electoral process then was not so monetized. But this, you already disqualify yourself. No man who is a salary earner could take any form or decide that he was going to contest primary.
So Prof, how democratic is our democracy?
Very big question. We have not improved in some way on the standard we reached in 1993. 1993, people came out in droves, in numbers, to elect the candidates of their choice, regardless of all artificial barriers. But in 2023, we had this challenge. The state of nation today is in a critical stage. But I believe that in some areas, we have improved on our electoral process. It is difficult for you to snatch ballot papers, ballot boxes, because of the improvement in voters.
Right. Prof, allow me to butt in here. But before I come to Comrade Ologun, You know, my colleague Evelyn, about connecting the dots, the old 93 mantra, renewed hope, Muslim ticket, you know, many things that happened. But let's talk about the ideal of the two individuals, MKO Abiola. What was his ideal at that time? Idea. Tinubu, who is the president right now. Is there anything connecting in the two men and the ideology? Well, both of them are rich, super rich. Before they came, you know, before they came for this position of the highest office in the land, the position of the president, Abiola was super rich, a mega millionaire. You called him Are Ona Kankan of Yoruba land. It was the pillar of sport in Africa. Tinubu in his own right was a mega super rich man as well before the election in 2023. But did they share any ideology?
Well, let me put it this way, that MK Abiola was a man of very humble birth. He had no silver spoon or even wooden spoon. He had none at all. The first time he ate rice in his life, according to him, was in his future in-law's house. And he was just a local boy, a musician, local musician that we call Alulu Bumieko, that the drummer boy that you just give back to drink. But he was able to succeed against all odds. He was a barometer of success by any standard. And he died at the age of 60. So he packed so many achievements behind him. He was a lover of education, a lover of sports, a great philanthropist, a great family man. All these combined together to make him who was MQ Abiola. In the same way, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, also of humble birth, he grew himself to acquire the necessary educational, technical, vocational, and other soft skills. He was governor of Lagos State for 8 years, was a senator in the Third Republic. With his experience, with his knowledge, he was able to manage Lagos State to an enviable height that today Lagos State still remains a model state to beat. In terms of ideology, men of wealth, they cannot lay claim to any form of socialism. The only thing they can lay claim to is the welfare of the people. If you want to box them to a particular ideology, you will run into troubled waters. The major similarity is that they are both men of compassion. They are both humane individuals. And they are go-getters, result-oriented people. That one was described as the best president who never ruled. The other is now a sitting president in the last 1 year.
All right. We'll get to that. And let me come to Comrade Ologun. Now, 1993 to 2024, 31 years. That aside, you know, talking about the man MKO, the politics, everything that happened at that time on one side. But let's move. 1999, we transited into democracy when Abdulsalam Abubakar left office, organized election, and then brought former President Olusegun Aremu Obasanjo. 25 years down the line of unbroken, you know, democracy, no breach at all. Maybe there are skirmishes, but here we are right now. Are you particularly excited of this stretch?
Well, except for someone who is anti-democratic in tendency, there is no way anyone will not be proud that successfully we've run 25 years of unbroken democracy, despite the skirmishes, like you called it, or the challenges that has come along with it. But the thing that is making it almost impossible to have absolute joy is the fact that we have failed to evolve. in those 25 years. We have not done so much differently from where we were in 1999. Majority of the challenges...
We've had the introduction of science, technology, ideas.
Of course, those are beautiful introduction to living in itself, not just democracy. The introduction, the improvement in tradition, in culture, in technology, they are part of world evolution. They are not part of our evolution.
But there are specific technological interventions
which
introduced
we
democracy.
were catching up with. It's not that they were innovations.
No, I mean in our own politics.
In our own politics, of course, we've recorded successes. I'm coming to that. But I'm much more interested in the things that we have failed at. Because those that we have failed at are probably what should have been the indices of measurement of what a successful democracy should have been. You described democracy the other time. The government of the people, by the people, and for the people. If we are to take that definition, how much of the people are in government now? How much of benefits are the people deriving from the democracy that is unbroken since 1999 till now? The government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So if the people have not gotten so much benefit, even when the government is for them, how do you describe success of such? If the democracy, as has been defined in that, because of course there are many definitions of democracy, if the democracy has been described as the government of the people, how much of involvement have the people had in the choice of their leadership? Let's look at 1999 till now. The election of 1993 that we are referring to now, of course, was a moral one. Nobody needed to bring policemen to the street to prevent buses from being snatched, because it was more of an affirmation of the choice of the people, irrespective of religion, of culture, or ethnicity. So the idea of immorality, in quotes now, of even having the intention of disrupting the people's choice by snatching boxes, maiming, and killing does not even arise. But look at 1999 till now. Have we fared any better? Of course, now, even though ballot boxes are not being snatched again because of introduction of technology into our elections, but of course you still hear of political assassinations. You still hear of maimings. You still hear of kidnapping. You still hear of attack from one aspirant against the other. You will see on the day of election that even though ballot boxes can be snatched, but it will not count, thugs will still go to the area of strength of a political aspirant to disrupt the process of election so that election in that place can be annulled to the benefit of whoever they are working for. Will you call that progress? That in itself is a total contradiction and retrogression from what we had in 1993. Now move to the personality of those that are leading us. Like I've said, except for Bola Ahmed Tinubu and a few others who were part of the pro-democracy struggle, who are now beneficiaries of it. Majority, the larger percentage of the beneficiaries of our democracy presently were nowhere to be found in that struggle. And I made reference to the former Senate President, who was instrumental, according to AIBB, in the annulment of June 12 election, who eventually became one of the biggest beneficiaries of the same democracy he worked again in 1993 by becoming a senator and moving on to become a Senate President. And that is why most of the people who are leading us, from the local government to the states, and those who are privileged to be appointed into federal offices at the federal level, do not really understand what it took us to have what they are enjoying now. And that's why many of them misbehave, because to them is an opportunity for enrichment. It is not an opportunity to better the life of the people who have gone through so much pain to brought us to where we are. Now, how much success have we recorded between 1999 and now? Or let's say, throw back to 1993. If you listen to the campaign song of MK Abiola, one of the things you see there is that there was no light. Of course, I remember very well in that video, the family were having dinner or so and the light went off. How much of electricity are we having now? Have we made much improvement from then till now? If you ask some people, they will even tell you that electricity in the area was better in 1993 than what they're having now. So how much of evolution, how much of evolutionary progress have we made in that part? Come to economy. In 1993, you could feed with so little. Even when you have none, there is this conventional idea of communal living. There was no distrust.
But there were still complaints.
There were still complaints.
Because the matter of Abiola was to the welfare of the people, he farewell to poverty. So it has always been there.
That is what I'm saying, that we have not evolved. We have not made so much progress economically.
Is it that, comrade, is it that we haven't evolved at all? Or the speed has been slow?
I don't know what you call speed.
Yeah.
Because
the evolution.
I recall that I made reference to something or a quotation that the president made today in his democracy speech. And he was referring to Roosevelt when he said that there are many ways a people can move forward.
Right.
But there is only way by which a people can be stagnant. So the question is, if there are so many ways, according to Roosevelt, that a people can move forward, how much of that forward movement have we had as a nation? Because, of course, you measure movement by where you were compared to where you are. So economically, in terms of standard of living, have we made a movement? Are we living better than we were in 1993 and 1999? Right. Are we having social amenities that are comparable with the 25 years or 30 years difference from what we were having then? Are people still not dying by roads uncompleted, by projects abandoned?
You're talking about dividends of
democracy, because for success of democracy, you must measure it by its impact on the people. Anything short of that is fallacy.
All right, so let's move to Professor Sifeso at this time.
Let me just enter a caveat.
Okay.
Yeah. First and foremost, the last 25 years, we made some progress. The president wanted a third term, which is alien to our constitution. You can only go for a second term. This particular president and a number of collaborators invested heavily in Ghana must go and not the rest of it. But that was shut down. That look, the only route to government house is through the ballot, not by extension. Nigeria was at a crisis point during the presidency of Yar'Adua. He could not transmit power to his vice president. A lot of stakeholders.
Prof, was it because, now we are talking with the benefit of hindsight, was it because he could not or you would not?
No, he wanted to. Okay. He wanted to.
The provisions are there, isn't it?
No, no provision. He wanted the assembly, the national parliament, to alter the constitution to allow for a third term presidency. And
now I'm talking about Umaru Yar'Adua. When you said he couldn't transmit power, and I'll say, was it because you are looking at it?
It was critically, it was critically ill.
Yeah.
And at that time, Nigeria was on the road to Armageddon. And because God is a Nigerian, some other people...
Really, Prof? Why say so?
Okay, let me round up that God is a Nigerian. Whenever Nigeria is at crisis point, that you think everything was going to go banana, you always find a way. The doctrine of necessity was invented and power was transferred to Goodluck Jonathan. This Nigerian state was without head of state or president for some time. And when Yar'Adua came, the body was returned to Nigeria, it was under the cover of darkness. Now, another major milestone that we were able to navigate, and we navigated it successfully. The next is Justice Way's report.
Sorry, Prof, I have to just butt in here so that we clarify. You're a professor of history, and it's good that we have you here so that we set the record straight. You said that was a milestone, you know, the sickness of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, which later, you know, killed him, and then it was returned. But many Nigerians will say many things that were necessary happened. That that process of transmission of power to his vice, which was Goodluck Jonathan, could have been smoother. But some cabal, so to speak, some persons were holding on to power with an incapacitated president at that time. And in as much, you know, you are not within the frame of mind to rule, you could have just hand over. But that didn't happen. But you said finally when it happened, when he died, a milestone was achieved. Was that really a milestone?
No, you don't. You are getting me right.
Okay,
that we were getting very close to Armageddon.
Okay.
But we retreated. And power was eventually transferred. You see, the chief of state at that particular time was rudderless. No feasible person in government. And because you do not have scientific proof or ocular proof of what happened during that particular period, as a historian, you need to be circumspect with whatever you say. But what is known to all Nigerians is that power was eventually transferred to Jonathan. We should give it to that parliament who did not allow somebody to be ruling in proxy for the president. The last election that we had was a difficult and challenging period when the governor of Central Bank introduced cashless policy in the transition period and at very short notice. You could see what happened in several banking halls. People who had millions in their bank account could not access 10,000 naira. And people had to sleep over in banking arena, banking hall. Some stripped themselves naked during that period. In spite of that cashless policy, in spite of that difficulty, people still went to poll to elect candidates of their choice, whether at senatorial level, at governorship, or presidential level. Cashless policy, good innovation, badly implemented. But at the end of the day, winners emerge across political divides. So, significant step in our journey to democracy, that when people decide that they will vote for candidates of their choice, no amount of intimidation or inducement will compel them to act on the contrary. Very significant milestone. Now, take a look at the Justice Ruwai report. The Justice Ruwai report was done. It was President Umaru Yar'Adua who said, look, the election that brought me to office was deeply flawed. He admitted that that election was characterized by massive rigging himself. For a president to say that, we should give it to him. We should give him credit and institute Justice Ruwai judicial reforms. The reforms, aspect of that reform culminated in the enactment of the new Electoral Act, which contained guidelines and regulations for our electoral process.
Prof, sorry, because of time, because we still have a long way to go. What you're saying is, no matter what has happened, we've made progress. That's what you're saying.
Steady progress.
Now, before I come to Comrade Ologun, I'd like to ask you about the 1999 Constitution, which provides the operational framework for our democracy that we have right now. Many amendments, we are hearing about constitutional amendment as well. There is a committee put in place, but many persons are blaming that constitution that we have now, that maybe is full of banana peels and maybe is full of lacunas, and that's why some of these, maybe I should just take a comrade on, Prof, please hang on that matter, to say the lacunas are there, maybe very many, the banana peels are there, and maybe that's why we have not really moved the way we should move. Is it a constitutional thing? Talking about the 1999 Constitution. Because that's the operational framework. We can't do anything outside.
Of course, that's the grand norm by which the country operates. But like I've always opined, the fact that we have a constitution, whether given to us or enacted by us, it remains the law by which we are governed. The problem many people have with that constitution is that perhaps it was handed over to us by the military, even though on the first page what we'll see is we, the people of Nigeria. Democracy is an evolution. Whatever you want to measure democracy by in the United States today, it wasn't as beautiful as it is now many years back. If you look at the trajectory of the growth of democracy in that country. So evolution of democracy in Nigeria is also going to come with movement from one level to another. So we have had a lot of reviews to the 1999 Constitution, and we are continuing to have it. Even though a lot of people have called for a national conference where a new law will be enacted. But even if a new law will be enacted and signed into law that becomes a new constitution, until the day that is done, the present 1999 Constitution, as reviewed, or as would be reviewed, will continue to guide us. Our problem, for me, has not been absolutely the law. There are a lot of lacunas, a lot of banana peels in the Constitution as handed over to us when we moved into the Fourth Republic. Absolutely so. But even the provision of the 1999 Constitution, how many of it are being followed to the letter? The way the Constitution is, as flawed as it is, if we obey the letters of the Constitution as flawed as it is, we will have a better nation. We will have a better rule of law. We will have a citizen that abides by provision of what the law says. So in itself, the Constitution is not a problem. It is obedience to the rule of law as provided for by the Constitution that is our problem.
All right, Prof, as a professor of history, 1999 we had an inflation rate of 6.62%. As at April 2024, we have it at 33.69%. We've had a couple of presidents from 1999 till now. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former President late now Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, to former President Muhammad Buhari, and now President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Who would you say, in your own opinion, dropped the ball that we now have our inflation rate at an all-time high?
So I will rather not talk about people. I will talk about the institution. The institution.
But these were leaders.
All of them personified one institution.
They had the responsibility to actually strengthen the institutions when they were there.
See, all of them are collectively guilty. So that it's not a question of Buhari, Jonathan, Yar'Adua, and not the rest of it. One thing that they collectively achieved, first and foremost, is located within the context of Nigerian nation, that they still believe, they all believe in Nigeria as an entity and its greatness and its future. I share that dream with them. There are several threats to the Nigerian state by the subnationals and non-state actors, whether you call it IPOB, whether you call it Arewa, whether you call it Udua or Udua Nation, and all the rest of it. These are tendencies really disturbing the peaceful coexistence of Nigerian peoples. But they've been able to manage that. The singular area where they have all collectively failed is in the economy. People talk about inflation. But before you talk about inflation, talk about productivity. In Osun State today, the steel rolling mill is dead. The machine tool is dead. The cocoa product industry is dead. What are we manufacturing? Take a look at Osun State as a case study.
So all of the leaders have been guilty at one time.
Not growing the economy.
Or the other.
But, some people would
we still
argue...
remain an import-dependent economy.
All right, Prof.
We still import virtually everything, including tomato, including day-old chickens, including eggs from South Africa.
But, Prof, some people would argue that former President Olusegun Obasanjo kind of transferred a stable economy to Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. So you didn't think, or you do not think that it should be excused?
You see, Obasanjo was crying during his period, pardon that expression, that we should all return to farm. He initiated Operation Feed the Nation. But how many people responded to that call? When people talk about Nigeria today, they've forgotten when Nigeria had a critical challenge with Idris Abdul Karim. Nigeria jaga jaga, everything scatter scatter. If he's going to do that today, you will now see that the ship of Nigerian state had been rudderless for some time. From all the reports that we heard in the last 1 year about performance of the central bank, which has never been audited, the performance of NNPC, which has never been audited for years, they all presided all over this. How can you be printing currencies without backing? And when you print when you print paper money, the impact of it is inflation.
So, Prof,
and we hope that Nigerian naira will not become Zimbabwe dollars.
We say amen to that. So all of them should take responsibilities for where we are right now. That's what you're saying. Comrade, let me quickly ask you, less than 4 or 3 minutes right now. President Tinubu was a close lieutenant of MK Abiola. You have said it repeatedly. Prof said it also. But he said being president is a lifelong ambition. Nigeria thought he came prepared, but this 1 year has been tough. So, you know, how will you rate him so far?
Well,
and what's the way forward? We just have to.
Well, just like you rightly said, and I opine to that too, is perhaps one of the very few that have been part of the democratic process, and is now a beneficiary of the process in itself. And one would have thought that he would have come with a Midas touch. One would have thought he would have done a lot of things differently, given his pro-democracy tendency, his history, and his background. If you ask me, the problem I have with the Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration is the failure to clearly depart from the norm. You cannot be having good intention without good action. You want to make the nation prosperous, and you preside over a government where people are living lavishly at the expense of the people. You preside over a government where you increase the benefits of the political class at the expense of the common man. You preside over a government where people are being asked to tighten their belt, and those around you and your office are daily loosening that to take in more fat. That is the problem I have with it, because one would have thought that with his experience and background, he would have been tough and understand that the people must be first beneficiaries before the political class. Now,
so where do we go from here? 10 seconds.
Where we go from here, for me, I've advocated that the problem with others of people is the fact that we are docile. Majority of Nigerians only make complaints. We don't make demands. So what should we do? We should continually to place demand on the political class. When it is time to ask your leaders questions, ask them. Don't be carried away with sentiment of Omawani is our brother, is from our faith, is this. We must continually place demand on the political class. That's the way forward.
Prof, we must go, we understand.
At global level, the world is going through very critical times. The cost of diesel, petrol, in any nation today, it's not what
Are you absolving the president of what?
I'm not absolving anybody.
Okay.
All I'm trying to do is that 1 year in the life of a nation is not enough for you to do practical government. Running government is different from a soapbox.
All right.
And that is one major issue.
We have to
What we do is that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a singular privilege to restructure the Nigerian state today. That has been his major focus.
So do you think he will do that?
Certainly.
All right.
When you look at the 2014 confirmed report, you realize that some aspect of that confirmed report
we have to go now.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
We must also grow the productive sector of our economy, the manufacturing sector of the economy. Let everybody return to the farm and feed his family.
Thank you so much, Professor Siyan Oyeweso, Professor of History, is also a fellow of the Historical Society of Nigeria and a Nigerian Academy of Letters member. Thank you for your time this morning. And of course, Comrade Ayodeji Ologun, civil rights activist and a public affairs analyst, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And people, that is the conversation today. We have taken time to acknowledge the progress we have made towards achieving democratic governance. We honor the hard work, struggles, and sacrifices of those who fought for democracy. Their dedication should always be remembered. While our path to democracy has been challenging with ongoing issues of corruption, insecurity, and economic inequality, we have stood strong as a democratic nation for 25 unbroken years. This, I say, is a significant achievement. As we look ahead on our democratic journey, let us strive for stronger institutions, leaders who prioritize the well-being of the people, and a spirit of patriotism among all Nigerians. I say to you, happy Democracy Day. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
And of course, I am Femi Ojo. God bless Nigeria. Happy Democracy Day. Bye-bye.